Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pub Talk. It's time to pop the top off with Pub Talk. Today, we are going to talk about Pat Mahomes' incredible contract, some more movie
Grotesque
talk,
contract. Coach.
some beer tasting finally once again for you guys, and hops of the week. But before we get to all that, Pub Talk is brought to you by Route 11 Chips. We know that it's summertime, but we all know that we just want to sit on the couch, binge watch Netflix, and stuff our faces with some chips. And Route 11 has got you covered in that department. Since 1992, Route 11 has been chipping away to give its consumers a great and tasty product. So make sure you check out your local Martin's, Food Line, and Giant and pick up a bag today. Okay, let's do this live show now. Welcome to another live edition here of Pub Talk. We hope you guys enjoy this. Sports are still not back. I'm waiting for the NBA to start. I am waiting for the MLB to start up. But at the end of the day right now, the big thing that has hit our news feeds on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere that you
blowing up
is Pat Mahomes.
My homie.
And he got paid the big bucks. Not just any big bucks. He also got paid $503 million. But I'm going to stop being an asshole because we do have a guest here today.
Special guest.
Show. It is a good friend of Coach,
yep.
Co-host on here, because I don't have any friends that come on this show. They're too young and don't talk about sports like I do, unless you're Biff, but that's it. But what do you want me to call you, John?
There you go.
John? Okay. Not Schindler-Decker? Okay. So we're going to welcome on John here today. He's a very special guest of Coach on the other side of the table right here. And we're going to talk some sports. We're going to talk some beer. And we're going to talk a lot about this Pat Mahomes contract right now, because it's not just the richest contract in NFL history. It's the richest contract in sports history right here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who would have thought that 3 years ago that the Bears would have taken Mitchell Trubisky and that the Chiefs would have taken this guy?
Yeah, they moved up, right?
And to take him.
They moved up to take him.
And the Bears are still shit.
Right.
And the Chiefs have won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, we got Nick Foles, though.
Have gone to the AFC Championship game.
Yep.
And now they have probably one of the greatest talents that we've seen in the past decade, bar none. We're seeing something truly amazing. Whenever I see Pat Mahomes on the field, and we'll get into his contract in a little bit, but people ask, like, well, why does he deserve this money? Well, it's because every single snap he's on the field, I clench my butt cheeks because I know that something is going to happen with him. I know that if he has more than 6 seconds in the pocket, you're fucked. That's just the way it is right now with him.
Yeah, there's something about him that is special. You know, he's
a leader.
Yeah. I think a leader is a great way to look at it. But here's the one thing about him that really strikes me the most is he looks like he's having fun. Like this is a freaking game to him, and he's playing it like it's a game
with a big smile.
Yeah, and then when he makes that freaking 60-yard flick with his wrist, and he throws the ball down the field 60 yards, and he throws a touchdown, you see him get to the sideline. He's springing along the sideline like he's got sunshine blowing out his ass. He looks like he's having fun, you know, and that's just. And you're right, though, CJ. If you're the opposing team,
that makes it fun for the fans,
right? Right.
We see the players having fun like that.
You know, and
it resonates throughout the stadium,
right?
It resonates, yes.
And we've gone over this before. And CJ is this guy who's talking about how much we.
What's up?
I was just.
Can you not hear me in there?
Yeah, it's my first time. You're the only one that doesn't have a headset on. I was just wondering how this works.
No.
You know?
He's just talking.
It's because my ears are just. They go bonkers in those headphones.
Yeah, where I have to hug my mic and I have to stay down like I've got a hunchback and stuff. But that's just how I do it anyway. But the thing about him is, we talked about Aaron Rodgers and how, for a lot of people, how unlikable he is. But you can't say that about Patrick Mahomes. He's just such a likable guy, unless you got to play defense against him, and then he's probably an asshole and you want to freaking murder him because he just down after down he's making plays against you.
I think like last year, well, not this last year, 2 years ago, when Brady won the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship game is a great answer for that, because the Patriots look like they had their number. Pat Mahomes goes down, and guess what? In an instant, the Chiefs are back in the game because you put the ball in his hands with time on the clock. He's just like any other great quarterback. Yeah. As of right now, I don't know what the future holds for him,
right?
Because he may have been a shitbird and take this money and be a Jamarcus Russell and run away with it.
No,
So
I don't see that happening. I
but
really don't. He's just a quality individual.
I know, and that's why I'm like.
Well, he loves the game, and it shows through. You can see it.
Yeah, especially, when you watch him, you see him smile more than the average freaking NFL quarterback. He just looks like he's a kid back there, having fun.
It's going to be hard to make him a bad guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can turn him into an Aaron Rodgers and vilify him, because Aaron Rodgers to me is, I just
can't even chug a beer at a basketball game when it's called. I can't trust that.
I just see him as this straight-faced kind of like, I'm a really good football player, and you can't touch me, and I'm pretty much an asshole.
That's a good impression there,
right?
I do that a little bit more, less face emotion.
Right. Yeah, well, I have to do that. I'm getting into character. Eat shit. I don't care.
But
so with incentives, $503 million, $500 million he's worth.
477 million of it isn't guaranteed money, though.
He's going to get 63 million at signing, but this year coming in 2020, he's still getting his $825,000. He's going to get a $4.5 million signing bonus on that. At the signing of this extension, they're going to pay him $63 million. When he signed, they paid him $63 million.
I'm never good at math, and I can tell you that's a shitload of money.
That's a shitload. But the thing that gets me about this is But the thing that gets me about it is the way they structured it. The Chiefs and freaking his agent were genius in structuring it the way they did. Because when you think about $500 million for one freaking guy, what does that do for paying other guys who come up in free agency?
Right. Where's the money?
Right. So what they did was he's not getting so much guaranteed. They're going to put it into signing bonus. And then what that happens is that the future of his contract gets converted to signing bonus. It's not in contract. So that frees up more cap space, and they can get better players or extend contracts. And that to me is genius.
When you say get better players,
right,
that's disgraceful to the Chiefs right now, because at their positions,
breakdown,
you got Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins. You have Damian Williams, who has proven that he could be the number one running back for them. And then you also have Travis Kelce, who in a lot of eyes is the best tight end in the NFL this past year when Gronk was not.
When Gronkowski wasn't playing. But the thing also I saw about this is I wondered what would happen when he got injured. And structurally in his contract, he gets $141 million guaranteed if he gets injured.
Wow. But we already saw what happened when he got injured this year.
Everybody shit the bed. They were like, oh, my God, we lost. Our kid is down. Our kid is down. But when you see the breakdown of his contract, and I brought it up, and it's insane.
How old is he?
24.
24, wow. 25, yeah.
And they're getting him.
That's crazy.
So look, in the next 3 years, from 20, 21, and 22, his base salary is not going to jump, but about from $800,000 to $1.5 million base salary. But where they get you is
he will be fine.
Yeah, his roster bonuses for being on the roster at that time jump like crazy. 21 million, 27 million, 34 million. It's going to climb all the way to $49 million in 2027 when his base salary is $10 million. So when you look at that, it's insanity. His final year in the contract, if he makes it that far, if he plays the 10-year contract out, they're going to pay him $38 million for that year, plus $13 million in signing bonus. $13 million additional as a roster bonus.
$13 million. So
you do the math on that. It's about $14 million.
13, and that's just a signing bonus.
And 38. It's a roster bonus. If he's on the roster at that time, he's going to get damn near $14 million plus his base salary of $38 million. You're looking at $52 million to play one season when he's 34 years old. One season.
That is crazy.
Is anybody here a Cowboys fan?
Yeah.
Because Dak Prescott is going to be like
licking his chops
this much now.
Right. But
he's been crying his eyes out to get a contract higher than anybody right now.
When you sent me the text and telling me what we were going to talk about here, I kind of went back and I looked at some of the quarterbacks, what they made when we were in high school, and I was looking at Joe Montana.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have been his last year, his next to last year. His 4-year contract was 13 point something.
Right. And it was unheard of at that time.
Yeah, exactly. And has the cost of living gone up that much? Jesus. I mean,
right.
I mean,
yeah. And when you look at his roster bonuses for the next,
he was making $3 million a year compared to, that's not even.
That's worth a garage.
Patrick Mahomes is going to make $21 million, $21.7 million just for being on the fucking roster at the beginning of next season, which guaranteed. Is greater than the whole of Joe Montana's 4-year contract when he played with the 49ers and eventually ends with the Chiefs. 4 years and $13 million, which is crazy.
It's just outrageous.
Yeah. And I guess it begs the question, is Patrick Mahomes worth that much money? Is any athlete worth that much money? I don't say human being. I just say athlete.
Honestly, it's a fluke for him because if it wasn't for the trade to the Redskins for Alex Smith, you could have not have seen him for a couple more years, and who knows what might have happened.
Well, who's next closest in salary?
In salary? You mean like in contract-wise to that?
Going to be Russell Wilson, maybe?
Probably, but not as much guaranteed money
not as much.
That. Not even
the way they spaced out his guaranteed money was the genius of the contract, so that he's getting guaranteed money every year versus getting it all in one lump sum at the beginning of it, so that they can maintain contracts, because Kelsey's going to eventually need a new contract. Tyreek Hill might need one. And any number of their other receivers or key players, they're going to be coming up for contract extensions. And I think that was a genius. But I'm looking at the sheet you brought.
Yeah. Look
at the per hour.
$5,742.
$5,000 an hour. You're
$137,808 per day.
I'm looking at per second. That man can buy a candy bar per second.
Right. I got $1.50. Oh shit! I got another $1.50. Oh shit! I got another $1.50. You know. I think I'm going to the store.
For 10 years, it's
right?
Be like
I think I'm gonna get me that nice pickup.
$96 a minute.
Yes, that's crazy. I'm looking.
I would set a timer on my phone every time I ding. $96.
Hey Google, set a timer. Oh shit, my Google set a timer. I'm sorry, Google. Shut your ass.
Well, I know it's jokingly like how everyone's like, who would give him this contract? Well, in the Super Bowl, when you're down, was it 10 or it was either 10 points with like 7 minutes to go?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're not out of the game with him
awoke.
In the game.
Yes.
You're not.
Yep.
Godzilla has awoken and he's terrorizing the town because
the Japanese in World War II. I'm afraid we have woken the sleeping giant.
People forget that his first year he was a backup to Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets that. I know.
But he was so highly touted. He had all the
Mitchell.
Skills. I think in terms of his skill base, everybody knew that Patrick Mahomes had the tools. He could make every throw. Plus, he had great wheels. He's got wheels like, that the average quarterback doesn't have. Pro-style quarterback. Now, when I say pro-style quarterback, yes, he's a professional quarterback, but he gets away with so much stuff that isn't pro-style that puts him over the top.
He's
of
unorthodox.
A lot of those guys. There are times when he's very unorthodox, but it works. And so when it works and you're that successful, not to mention, and you said this earlier, he's a leader. People want to play for him.
Unorthodox, though, it comes at a price where you do it with confidence, though, where you know that it's like, yeah, I know this is going to fucking work.
Right.
You see a lot of quarterbacks who are unorthodox, and you're like, why did you try and make that play?
Right.
Like, I don't know. I got in a bad situation.
You know who a perfect example of that is? Johnny Manziel.
I know.
You want another example of it? Baker Mayfield. They try to ad-lib. They try to do those things, and those things end up in turnovers. They end up in incompletions. They end up in a punt. Whereas this guy...
And don't say it's because of the team. You got Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and all those players.
Manziel just could make the transition.
Right.
I'm saying more
college.
Mayfield.
He's having too many
beers.
Manziel.
Yeah, Manziel. I've always been one of the people who said, like, well, he had 2 years of, well, he technically only had one good year in college.
Right.
And it was a fluke that year because that was when Alabama had its, it was the first year of the college football playoff, and Manziel, they didn't have their fantastic defense or a good quarterback then, and Manziel came in and beat him. Oh, it's a fluke. That happens in college football.
It happens all the time.
And to pick him in the first round of the NFL draft, we saw what happened.
Right.
It's very easy.
I was rooting for him. Though.
Yeah, but one last thing
about him.
One last thing on Mahomes. Does this big contract, does all of the attention that's being paid to him, all this money, all of this lavishing on him, does it put a target on his back? Do you think he has to play over and above what he already does now? You know what I mean? Where athletes are pressed to do
50
more.
touchdowns in his first.
I know. Is he going to be?
He has to play above and beyond.
Does he have to throw 51, 52, 55 touchdowns? Because look, we're paying you all this money. Do you have to take any more risks with him?
Prove himself?
Does he have to do
more?
more than he's already done, or does he just settle in and do?
The damn table, coach.
That's
right.
right.
You're gonna make
What?
the computer fall down.
Oh, sorry.
You're like
I was
shaking
excited.
Your arms on
I was
here.
excited.
I get that.
All right.
Chill
well,
out a little
shut
bit.
your ass because I was excited. But you know what I mean? Does it make him want to press? Hey, everybody's watching me. They've put in a huge investment in me. What more do I have to do? Do I have to win a Super Bowl all the time? You know what I mean?
No, I definitely don't think so.
Well, then
because they gave Aaron Rodgers big money, and he is
he hasn't done
in
dick.
the top 10, maybe
You're right.
at the middle
You're
of the
right.
back
He hasn't.
quarterbacks.
You're right. And they're going to give a
still
shit.
love him and want him to be their dad or something. I
Right,
don't know.
and
they
they
just want him to be a part of their family.
The same thing could be said about Dak Prescott. You know, Dak hasn't won very, very many important
With
games.
the teams that he's had too, he should be winning fucking
Right.
games.
Is he good? Is he good enough to have something comparable to the $400 million range? $300 million?
Can't win with the players that he's had.
Right. I mean, and Dallas has got players, man. They got some players. I just wonder what's going to happen because he's got this thing sitting on top of him, and it's.
Well, it depends on how he handles the pressure.
Right, right. That's what I'm saying.
That's what it's all about.
Psychologically, what do? You're a young guy, and they gave me freaking $500 million. They're going to.
I don't think it's going to bother him. He seems like we were
think so
talking
either.
earlier.
That's why I said I'm just asking.
He's happy-go-lucky.
Right.
It seems like he's out there to have fun and win games.
Right, right.
You think it's going to bother him? I don't. I mean, it's
No,
probably be in the back of his mind, of course, like anything else.
Yeah,
but-
did I do enough when they lose? Did I do enough? Did I do what I was supposed to do? Did I do what they were paying me to do? I'm not saying it is or isn't going to happen. I'm just asking the question because psychologically, how many times have you seen people get big money and they turn into something that they're not? And he changes his playing style, and then he throws a few more picks, and they don't win the Super Bowl again, or they don't get where they were supposed to go. And then they say, oh, we threw all this money at this kid, and look what happened to him. He swallowed the money, and he turned to shit. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to see that happen at all, but it's possible, isn't it? Don't shake your fucking
It's
head.
always
Say a
possible,
word.
but
I think it's possible, but not with him.
I don't think it is.
He's
Okay.
different than everybody.
Okay,
I
well
agree.
then I just
agree.
thought I was trying
There's
to
only
throw
3
content
quarterbacks.
into the
Right,
show.
right,
I get
right.
that, but there's only 3 fucking quarterbacks who have ever thrown 50-plus touchdowns in a season.
Yeah.
And he is one of them.
Right,
okay?
I get it.
I mean, and that's going to be hard for him to top, but I mean,
Exactly. and the other 2 were Peyton and Tom
Really
Brady.
doesn't-
And to be in that category with that record,
Yeah.
touchdown record, like that doesn't happen. And
Right,
then to
right.
go out the next year and win the Super Bowl after being injured for about 6 of the games, and you coming back in and said like, "I'm still the best here. I'm gonna
Yeah,
prove it
yeah.
to you."
No, I think that's the kind of kid he is.
Like you look at the playoffs too, not just the Super Bowl. You're down 24-0.
Oh yeah, you
You're
could
down
see that come.
24-0
You could
against
see that
Houston.
coming a mile away with the
And then
freaking
guess
with
who's
the
at the lead
Texans.
at halftime? The Chiefs against Tennessee.
He
You're
threw down the
seven-
fuck you gauntlet. He's like, it
Absolutely.
ain't
against
happening.
Tennessee.
Absolutely.
You're down 17-0. Guess who wins? The Chiefs. Like
Yeah,
it's the same thing in the Super Bowl against the 49ers.
you're not wrong there.
And he wasn't getting paid as much money as he was then.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah, I thought it'd be worth asking the question. I don't know if anybody's thinking about that, but that comes to mind. Is what is too much money for a professional athlete? I mean, what is too much money?
Well, guess what? Mike Trout's getting all his money, and he hasn't.
Well, the
played
bar's
a-
been
he
set.
hasn't swung a bat. He hasn't
Right?
swung a damn bat.
Yeah,
the
oh,
bar's been set.
Yeah. And Mike Trout, by all accounts, statistically, and
he's the best player in baseball.
He's the best player in baseball, period. And he could be measured against the greatest players in baseball based on his body of work so far. Just like this young kid can be measured by the greats in the game in doing what he's done so far. We'll see if he can continue. We'll see. Maybe I hope that the money doesn't choke him down and ruin it.
Well, I know it's going to be everything that someone will resort to when he goes down. I mean, whenever he starts to lose, or if that may be the case. But at the end of the day, like, the Chiefs have had a long-standing history of losing. They always have.
Right.
Ever since the 1970 was their last. No, yeah, 1970 was their last time that they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Took them 50 fucking years to get back. And you're telling me that you don't want to pay the kid that you drafted to back up Alex Smith, and guess what he does in his
He
first
was the
year?
future of your
He throws
franchise,
50
and
touchdown passes.
he was the future of your franchise, and you moved up to get him. It's all good in my book. Special.
If you're ever just bored out of your mind watching TV and it's like there's nothing
Flipping the
on,
channels.
but then you see this movie come on, you're like,
I gotta watch it.
I'll watch it. I don't care.
I've seen it 53 times, but I'll watch it 54
That's
or
me.
a portion of it. Yeah.
So
All right.
go ahead.
What's your? I already said this before the show when we were talking about it. Die Hard.
What's your number 5 though?
No. Oh, my number 5. This is going to be coming out of left field, but it's two Will Smith movies, and I don't know what it is about these two damn movies, but I can't get enough of them. I, Robot and I Am Legend. If they're
I
on,
could watch I Am Legend.
if
Yeah,
they're
me
on,
too.
if they're
That's-
on, I'm watching that shit.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking Bad Boys. I'm not talking 7 Pounds. I'm not talking about any of the other quasi good movies he's made. I, Robot and freaking I Am Legend were phenomenal movies. I enjoyed them, and every time they're on, and I think it was last month I saw like I, Robot. I watched it like 3 different times, and not even the whole movie.
I don't even think that's that good of a movie.
You don't?
I haven't seen it in years, and I can't remember a damn thing about it.
Oh
either.
my god, I think it's
I'm
awesome.
sure it's about robots. But
Yeah,
that's
it
as
is.
far
It's
as I'll
about
go with it.
robots. But yeah, it's just something
That's
about
a
Will
good one.
Smith movies.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
Those two, I, Robot or I Am Legend, I'm watching that shit. All right, Johnny, what do you got?
Well, I have a lot of them, but I think that Top Gun. If Top Gun comes on, I'm watching it. I don't know why.
Do you ever hear Tarantino talk about Top Gun and
No.
how it's about fags?
Yeah,
You got to watch.
I've
you
seen a
have to
couple
watch
different things about that.
The
Yeah.
YouTube video he talks about, and that it's all about homosexuality. That freaking Top Gun is all about homosexuality, and it's him talking over the video. But you're right, and
If it's on, I'll watch it.
CJ's looking at me like I have 2 fucking heads. But his mother will even attest to this. She's sitting over there at the bar. She'll even attest to this. That if it's on,
We're watching.
We're watching
My
that
brother
shit.
looks like fucking Maverick. You see him with his glasses, with the Ray-Ban glasses.
He's got the mirrored sunglasses. He got a T-shirt that says Maverick on it.
I mean, the Goonies. It doesn't matter what section, what part of the movie that's on.
Goonies?
I watch it.
Here
I
you
like
go.
it. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Look at CJ.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I do. I just
Yeah.
I like it. It's a feel good movie. It makes you feel good.
All right. Bunch of kids.
E.T.
E.T.
I like E.T.
Yeah,
I just watched
can
it again.
tell. The extra testicle.
Yeah.
I think that was a porno, right? E.T. the extra testicle. The CJ. he
I
looks
mean,
at me.
in any of the old school movies. Heck, I
Yeah.
mean, any of the old Clint Eastwood westerns.
Yeah, I didn't get to that yet.
John Wayne.
Yeah.
Any of those.
How about you, CJ? I got another one, John Wayne. You just said this, and I'm gonna write it down before I forget.
Number 5, Step Brothers. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, you're right.
It's-
Yeah.
I know it's newer-ish.
Almost
I wanna
any
say.
part of that movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Catalina wine mixer.
I mean, that's the
Who's
best
watching that?
part.
it's like
Yeah.
good. I didn't
So much
miss the
more
art.
room.
Yeah.
So much more room for activities,
He
right?
had the strangest look in his eye. He looked at me and he said, "Let's get it on." Oh, come on now. That is so bad. I am so not a raper.
I thought I was
Raper.
gonna be raped. I am so not a raper. Yeah.
Yeah, Step Brothers. You can go next. I need to pull up my
You know
list.
what? It's freaking Denzel. If there's a good Denzel flick, and I can only think of like now he's made a lot of great movies, a lot of great movies, but The Equalizer.
Both of them.
Anytime the first one is on, I guarantee you I'm watching it. It's just on. I'm watching it. I don't give a shit what part of the movie it is. I'm watching it. Another one that he's in is the one where it's in. Is it New York? I'm going to say New York, Philly, where he's playing Frank Lucas, the drug dealer.
Oh,
Gangs of New York.
No,
it's
and I don't know why. Denzel and Frank Lucas.
You made this listening.
Yeah, I know. I didn't write the name down, but I was thinking of Denzel movies, but most of them are Equalizer.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I've seen the Equalizer 1 and 2. I can't tell you how many times.
Out there know it. Tweet us about it.
Yes, if you're out there, please.
Coach, how about Man on Fire? Do you like Man on Fire?
Yeah, Man on Fire is good because that's based on a true story.
Is it?
I think it's based on a true story. Yeah. Former FBI agent. He's sent to protect that young kid.
Right.
Yeah,
that was a good. I just watched that.
Yeah, it's a long movie
Yeah.
too. That's a really long movie. John Q is another great flick that he's made. That he did a couple of other ones that were based on books, and I'm not like Deja Vu and all that stuff, and I'm not big on those.
King Kong has nothing on me. Training Day.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's a classic
Yeah.
flick. You just said it, CJ.
Book of Eli.
Book of Eli.
oh, that's
I
really
love the
good.
middle part of the
That
Book
was
of
such
Eli.
a twist, right?
Yeah, at the end.
Right?
Oh,
It
man.
was the part under the bridge where he kills all those guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Or the part in that movie that really gets me is when they go into the house of those old folks, and those old folks are freaking cannibals.
Yeah.
they've been freaking trapped.
That was kind of a twist too, right?
Yeah.
Grandma and Grandpa are going to eat you.
Right. Yeah.
They're going to have you for dinner, literally. I mean,
Yeah.
Next up is Kingsman.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's different than like
It is a very different movie.
you have 007, James Bond and everything, but
Yeah.
Kingsman is like it has that British twist to it, and it's about looking very suitable, very
Yeah.
fresh.
I enjoyed that
and
movie.
you're
Yeah,
also-
I like that.
You know,
I didn't
second
like
one-
the second one as much. Did you like that one as much?
I still think it's good because the guy's singing John Denver Country Roads the whole damn time. But I mean,
That
it's a
John
little bit
Denver's
more
full of
funny
shit.
with like the fights and stuff. But I still think that like if I saw the second one on and the first one's not on, I'll fucking watch the second one.
Right. Yeah.
Next is Expendables. Any of them. I can watch.
Yeah, they
any
were
of
all really good.
them.
I loved when
Absolutely.
Mel Gibson is the bad guy. What's that?
The
Third
third
one.
one.
Third
Yeah.
one. He's the bad guy. You couldn't have asked for a better.
I hear
bad
they're
guy.
making another one.
Yeah, there's.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised. Stallone needs.
Hey, we got somebody just jumped in, CJ. If you see
Stallone
somebody blinking, is
yeah,
that
it's
Biff?
Biff.
All right. Hey, well, hang on, Biff. We're gonna get you a mic and we'll get you loaded up here in a second. We weren't sure who we were gonna get in the early afternoon for the show, so hang on a second. We're getting our mic set up for that. But yeah, I don't know. I got another one.
I mean, there's a lot of cheeky lines in that movie.
Yeah, there are. If I had to pick any kind of Clint Eastwood Western, from Hang 'em High to any of the spaghetti westerns that we've talked about in the past for a few dollars more, every time I show that, Kathy gets freaking pissed at me. We're not watching that. Or I'm going across and
I know
see,
why, because you're doing a dialogue, aren't you?
Sometimes I am. Sometimes, and then she gets pissed at me. Yeah. Don't the back is.
I mean, speaking of Clint Eastwood, how do you turn off any Dirty Harry?
Oh
Any of
my
them.
God! Yeah,
Any
you
of them.
can't. You can't.
I mean,
you can't.
There's not. I mean, there's some better than others, but none of them are bad.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of the very first one because, and I've said this 1,000 times on the show, that there's something about the backdrop or telling a story about a character in the first movie, and that the second one or the ones that follow it get better and better.
Right.
And that's why I like the Rambo series so much, is because the First Blood was such a great story that was told that it just set up the other ones, and it was like, oh my God, they better not fuck this up. That's why First Blood Part 2 was so good. But I like the last one. It's a little cheesy, I guess you could say, but it's way better than than Rambo 3.
That's why I couldn't understand why you picked T2 over the original Terminator as your number.
I did because I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the ending so much of Terminator 1 because Arnold ceases to exist in the
but
movie.
that's the story, though.
I know.
You're so into the story.
Yeah. So Biff on there.
Hola.
Hola. I heard him. I heard him through the. Yeah, I think we're down. Oh, there he is. He just potted up really
You
good.
okay, Biff?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you good.
Yeah, I can.
I heard somebody say Clint Eastwood westerns.
Yes, I did.
My favorite's Josie Wales.
Outlaw Josie Wales. What a great flick.
Yeah. Even though we'd probably get screamed at right now for talking about it because it has to do with the Confederate Army, but
yeah, Captain Redlegs.
So, real quick, before we get back into the movies, Biff, what did you think about Pat Mahomes?
What did you think about the contract for Pat Mahomes?
I mean, I want to say it's too much, but if he can stay healthy, it's going to be scary.
I mean, I was saying $1.60 a second. Man could buy a candy bar every single second for the next 10 years right now.
So, in all honesty, I see him winning at least 4 AFC.
4 AFC titles?
Yep.
For losing in the Super Bowl?
I see him going 2-1 in the Super Bowl for the next 10 years.
For the next 10 years. Okay, that's a very broad. That's. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone 10 years down the line for these Super Bowls. I mean, I think they're capable of it, but I think next year, especially, they're the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now.
They gotta be.
They have 21 out of 22 starters coming back next year.
But it's all, I guess, projection is you got to say that they're the odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl to repeat again. And nobody's talking about Tom Brady down.
It's very hard to do it with the Patriots.
2002, 2003, I think it was, or 3 and 4, something that's so long ago. But my thing is this: in this day and age, the speed at which this game is played and the resulting injuries that are so devastating to some of these guys, you got to wonder if they can stay together. When I say stay together, physically stay together in order to achieve that goal. But you got to think that they're odds-on favorite to do it.
And also, he's not the only person on the team.
Right.
It's going to depend
if
on
Kelsey
what he's got.
goes down, you lose a running back, tweak an offensive lineman, or any kind of shit like that comes along. It can be very devastating to your team, and it's happened before. I mean, it's happened many times.
Well, they got him signed. So, what do you think about MVP status for the next 10, 12 years?
If he didn't get injured, he was going to win it again.
Yeah, I mean, he's just phenomenal. There's no other way
I know Lamar
to describe
Jackson
him.
had a good season.
He did. But
at the end of the day, he's 0-2 in the playoffs.
He didn't win when he needed to. Yep. But he's dynamic as hell, man. I think Patrick Mahomes has a very, very bright future in this game. There's just no way to explain it. And I don't see anybody else in the game at his level right now playing the game as efficiently and as successful as he is. I just don't.
And that's coming from a fan of Tom Brady.
And I am. Yeah. But Tom Brady's like 400 years old.
And a guy who has to deal with Mitch Trubisky.
Right. And I got and Nick Foles. Well, we could have had Cam Newton, damn it, and then let Patriots freaking grab
I was going to say now the Patriots have him, so what the hell kind of shit is that? But anyway.
You don't have to deal with them as a Saints fan.
Yeah.
You don't have to deal with
but now we have freaking Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have Teddy Bridgewater. And you got Tom Brady.
And you got Brady.
Yeah. He said he signed with the Buccaneers so he can play Drew Brees twice a year. Kiss my ass, Tom.
Nothing wrong with that.
He's allowed to say that, though.
But why not? What better benchmark to measure yourself from than freaking Drew Brees? I'm not a Saint, but I'm a Drew Brees fan.
Me too.
What do you mean Aaron Rodgers?
Fuck
I'm just
him.
kidding.
He's not
Rodgers!
Hey, Rodgers!
I'm just kidding with that. Okay, we've already talked about Pat Mahomes a lot today, so back to the movie.
But he said outlaw Josie Wales.
Biff, did you hear the movie category?
No, I didn't. I was
Whistle Dixie.
Drive-by movies. Basically, if you're bored and there's nothing on TV, but you see a movie, you always put it on just because
you're
Billy the Kid.
What's that?
Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid.
Or Forrest Gump.
Forrest.
Oh yeah, that's a great one.
Forrest Gump
Yeah,
is
there you
really
go.
good.
Jenny.
I'm gonna need
Jenny
4
and I would
hours.
like peas
I'm gonna need
and
4
carrots.
hours away from you right now. That's how
Jenny and I would like peas and carrots.
I said Step Brothers, Biff. I
Yeah.
think Step Brothers. Is
All right,
up.
if we're gonna do a comedy, it's gonna be Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber, another classic. Did he steal one from you, CJ?
No, but that's a good one.
That's
That
a
is
very
definitely a
good
good one. We were talking about Clint Eastwood in the westerns and stuff for a few dollars more, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But you came along, and that's a home run with freaking Outlaw Josie Wales. I'm really into that. I also, when you said John Wayne in the western, I like John Wayne in the war movies, especially Vietnam. If Green Berets are on, I'm watching it.
Yeah, when you guys did your war movies, I don't think you mentioned one John Wayne movie. It was all kind of new.
I think I had Green Berets on my list and I dropped it at the last second. In terms of the action of the movie and kind of things like that, John Wayne was a part of that movie, but he wasn't a key character in that movie. There were a lot of other things going on.
World War II ones.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he helped win the war, I guess, for morale.
I
morale-wise,
tried to tell this to CJ many years ago, but my great grandmother was a lunatic. Like she was fucking lunacy, and she lived to be like 100 years old, right? And she used to tell my dad that her and John Wayne won the Second World War because she was into the French underground, and she would do. My mom said that she would. This is the craziest shit. Like she would do things on a lamp, and she would like tap on a lamp, and she would be like, "That's how we made signals, and that's how I sent secret messages in the underground during the war." And my mom would be looking at her like, "You're fucking crazy." But she was like this lunatic who thought, because she didn't have dementia, like in the sense she didn't know who the hell she was. She thought she was instrumental in helping defeat the Nazis in Europe with the help of John Wayne. And my dad used to say that, yeah, between your great grandmother and John Wayne, that's how we won the Second World War. And
As he takes a swig of whiskey to calm his nerves after saying that.
right. And I'd only met her a couple of times, and she was this little frail woman who had colored hair. She was like 90 couple years old, and her hair was like perfectly brown.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
like she colored it so she could look younger.
There you go.
How do you fucking look younger when you're 90 couple years old? But yeah, my dad used to say that. I'll never forget that. My mom tells me how much of a lunatic she was in the things that she came up with, that she was involved in the secret underground and sending spies and messages to spies and shit like that. So
I know you keep looking at me. I have no idea what the hell he's talking about. So like,
yeah. You wait till
I'm just looking around.
you
I'm not
wait till
really-
you wait till your grandmother comes to stay with us, and I'll tell you. You remind me to tell you about your great grandmother, and you watch your grandmother's face.
she'll start making the hand motions.
Yeah,
like,
she'll be like,
I understand.
right,
now, yeah.
because she was a nutso. That's
Okay.
the funniest shit.
All right, what's your next movie?
Me,
Yeah.
my number one or number two?
Oh, I have it. Number 2 because I'm.
It's we have mentioned it, and I already said it. Die Hard. Any of the Die Hards, Live Free or Die Hard. I love the first one. The very first one is John McClane.
That's my favorite.
Yeah,
I like the third one with the Vengeance.
yeah. Die Hard with a Vengeance is really good. Samuel
I
L.
forgot
Jackson
which
is
one.
really good.
Is that the airport?
That, no, that's
the second
Samuel L.
one. That's the
Jackson.
second one.
Yeah,
third
that's the
one's
one that
with
takes place-
Samuel motherfucking
Oh,
Jackson.
Samuel L.
Because he
Jackson.
says that all the time in that movie.
Yeah, he's really good in that movie. The characters that I guess how they put Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis together, it just worked. You know what I mean? They pulled it off without any problem whatsoever. So,
Oh.
but
My
what'd you
second
do? You
one's
just
John
taking a
Wick.
shit?
And he's
John Wick. Yeah.
I haven't done him forever.
Yeah, the third one's been floating around like HBO or Showtime recently, and it's good, but it doesn't compare to the first two. It just doesn't. And the first one was just so over the top good. But once again, it goes back.
It's a great story.
They tell you a great story, and it sets up, and of course that's a home run. What do you got? What else are you thinking?
I have several. It's just
All
it's
right.
hard. Any Jason Bourne. I love the Bourne movies, and I love any of the old original Steven Seagal movies. I'm
Oh,
a Steven
yeah.
Seagal guy.
Yeah,
You're a
yeah.
John Wick guy. I'm a Steven Seagal guy.
Yeah.
Also a John Rambo guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I think Rambo's kicking both their asses, but that was just me.
I think Steven Seagal taught Rambo. That's what I think because that's what he
he was in the Far East. He was with the CIA, and he learned
right.
Hapkido there,
Right.
and maybe that's what did it, or Haikido.
Like 4-star general was Steven Seagal.
No, you know what? One of the best movies that he
True.
was in that was a
True. I
Steven.
wasn't thinking about that.
My
What's that?
commander.
Yeah.
My commander in chief was Steven Seagal.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm making a joke and you're not laughing. It
Yeah, I
sounds
don't get it.
familiar,
It
right?
wasn't. It didn't sound like a
Familiar,
fucking joke to me. But anyway, is Under Siege. Well, I think we brought it up briefly on one of the shows. Under
Yeah,
Siege.
I sent you a message. To
Yeah,
that. I said he would kick.
That was-
He would kick Wick's ass. Is what I
I
said.
don't know, but I guess in hand to hand, he would probably handle Wick pretty well. But when it
That
comes
character.
when it comes to guns, Wick's pretty damn good. He's
Right.
pretty good.
Right.
But
What's your number one then?
Jaws.
The first one.
the
Please tell
very-
me only the first one.
No, the third one or the fourth one
The
where
fourth one
Jaws
where he
was
Where there's a
sounds like a
land
lion.
shark.
Where the
I'm
shark-
surprised there's not another one.
where the shark goes. "Roar."
I'm surprised you didn't say Sharknado.
Yeah.
Sharknado.
They didn't make it a mutant. He can
Piranha
go through New York
3D.
eating people or something.
Right, right. Yeah, Jaws brought down the freaking World Trade Centers. It wasn't some jihadist. It was a shark.
Right.
So
I can agree to that.
it wasn't any boat propeller. It was a shark.
My number one's
Well-
completely different than every other movie I have. It's
Really?
Remember the Titans.
Yeah,
No matter
yeah.
what, I can.
Those
You know
sports
that-
movies what's the one with Robert Redford, the baseball movie?
The Natural.
The Natural.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's
yeah.
just no
Yeah.
part of that I
And
won't
that's-
watch one.
That was my number one.
and it's really long too.
And so Biff agrees there
So,
with you.
yeah,
Sorry, Biff.
it's a long movie and it takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, it holds
It's
up.
exciting.
Yeah, it's good.
It's, I think.
Yeah, I liked it. I definitely like that movie. We get another
At
one.
number two, I have Major League 1 and 2.
Major League
With
is
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, those are.
Biff's a baseball guy.
Wow,
so.
dang. I think I love you.
And at number 3, Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Gunnery Sergeant Hartman.
Oh man.
I am your senior drill instructor. I am hard, but I am fair. You will not like me.
Holy
You're
dog
damn
shit,
ugly,
Texas.
you
Only steers and queers come from Texas. Private cowboy.
I didn't know they stack shit that high.
Private
Lord.
All right, gentlemen, you enjoy your podcast.
All
I'll be
man.
listening.
You take care of yourself.
Lawrence of Arabia. What are you, royalty?
That name sounds like royalty. What was that? Only faggots and sailors are called Lawrence. From now on, you're Gopher Pile.
Did somebody else pop on, or is that you?
He was just asking a question.
Oh,
He
who
was
was
just
it?
asking
Who
a
is it?
question. His name is Vic Romano. He's asking about like what movie section we're doing right now.
Oh.
What the drive-by movies are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Full Metal Jacket. That's a good one. I mean, the second part of the movie is,
Yeah, it's long and drawn
it's
out.
long and drawn out. But,
But
the
that-
first part,
that has
everybody
a-
knows.
That has a lot to do with the director that did the movie. So,
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Remember the Titans is my number one.
Yeah, I think that's one of those movies that people have enjoyed so much over the years that you just
Absolutely.
can't not watch it. But that's a Denzel flick, and
Right,
Denzel
right.
Denzel puts out a pretty damn good flick. It's just how it
Denzel.
is. You could probably drop 10 more movie names, and I'd be like, "Yep, I'm watching that one. Yep, I'm watching
Yeah, it's
that
hard to do a top
I
five,
have Blazing
in my
Saddles in
opinion.
there.
Blazing
I can watch
Saddles.
Blazing
What in the
Oh, yeah.
wide world of sports?
Yeah,
is
but that
going on?
you can't just watch that when it comes on. That has to be on like HBO or something. Where you can,
Right.
where,
It's
You can watch the whole thing.
Right.
Right.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
and CJ probably remembers this. His mother, her older sister, got us tickets, and the four of us, her and her husband, and Kathy and I, went to the Warner. No, it wasn't the Warner Theater. It was the theater in DC, and we watched a sit down with Mel Brooks. They showed the movie in like 4K on the big screen, and then afterwards Mel Brooks came out and talked about the movie.
wow.
And they had all these questions, and it was just like a Q&A with Mel Brooks that night. and it was like 3.5 hours we spent there, and it was Mel Brooks was just phenomenal.
Another one is
And
History of the World.
Yeah, history of
History
the
of the
world.
world. That was just the one I just.
Okay,
just watched
faggot.
that.
What's next? Yeah.
You look like the piss boy. And you look like a bucket of shit.
Oh,
All right,
this boy.
Let's get to the beer.
Oh,
drinking
we're gonna get to beer drinking. All right, let's make sure you get your glasses out
Yeah,
there.
well, I'm a newbie at this.
Yes,
so you're gonna
we're-
have
so
to.
so we're gonna.
for
Oh,
our
go ahead.
longtime guests. Shut up, Coach.
All
For
right.
our longtime guests, last year we did something called 6 beers, where we tasted 6 different beers, and showed them here on the show. We would post the pictures of them afterwards to allow our fans to go out there and taste them themselves.
Check them out.
Right now, we're going a little bit in the other direction with 3 beers
So
this
we're
time.
going 3
So-
beers because we had a regular
Yeah.
segments on the show, and since it was live, we thought we'd bring back our 3 beers or 6 beer
So go
episodes
ahead.
again. All right, so the first one up is called Hager Weiss or Hager Weiss. It's a Hefeweizen wheat beer from Antietam Brewery in Hagerstown, Maryland. It is 5.3% alcohol by volume, so it's no more than a Bud Light or whatever. And it's rated at about 18 IBUs, which is the bitters. And the higher the IBU units, the more bitter it is. And so what we do is we're going to sample a little bit in the glass. And I'm pouring that. I got a giant head on that thing.
You can go ahead and pour yours. That's fine.
All right.
There's no royalty here. It's
Yeah.
fine.
And it's got a great color to it. It's not entirely see-through or transparent, which is typical of a Hefeweizen. But
It's got foam in every single glass here.
but
Yeah,
it, and it
it's got a lot
What
of
doesn't.
is
foam.
this?
It's foamy.
It's probably just the way it was canned.
Smells kind of fruity. You smell it?
Yeah, it probably it has a little bit of a
It's really light.
yeah, it is. It's not
Has a
typical of a
wheat-
Hefe.
a-
Yeah, it is a
very
wheat beer.
weedy.
It is a wheat beer. Let me have a little bit more. It's not too bad. It's called Hager Weiss, and it's because Antietam Brewery is from Hagerstown, Maryland. But that's not bad.
It's not bad, but I don't think I could drink this.
But
A lot.
we
No,
like
I
all
couldn't-
day.
I know.
Or,
Have one and be
I
like,
know,
Yeah.
but
give me
what
the
we've
Miller.
said of Hefeweizens and what we've tasted in the past is that oftentimes they need a citrus substitute to finish them off.
Oh, okay.
And so you drop in an orange slice or a lime slice or
Oh,
a
it is
lemon
a wheat
slice.
beer.
Yeah.
Duh.
What's your
That's
thoughts
okay.
on the finish? It
That's
doesn't.
okay.
It's crisp. It's
Yeah,
crisp,
not bad.
but it doesn't. One of the things that turns me off to a lot of beer, a lot of different beers, is when they finished with a sour or some sort of bland aftertaste. But this one doesn't. It doesn't finish badly at all. That's not bad. So we got Hager Weiss. It's got a cannon on the front. Pretty cool canning. We've had Antietam Brewery. They make a red ale, and the red ale is really, really good. I've had that many times, and we talked about it on the show. And
I mean, and CJ's right. It's light. It's not. It doesn't
Yeah,
feel.
the
it
first
doesn't-
thing that Hefeweizens to me, they hit you, and that didn't hit me as hard.
no, not
It really
at all.
did.
Not at
Okay,
all.
so what we got next here?
all right, one of my favorite companies is Honor Brewing, and
Mhm.
they made a beer. I think it's a seasonal beer called Line of Sight, and Line of Sight is a phenomenal beer,
It's
but it's
very
really hard to
delicious,
find. And CJ always busts my chops because we go to Total Wine when we do it. And Total Wine, and you don't have one in PA, but Total Wine down near Manassas it's like a Walmart for beer and wine. And so when you go in there, they have hundreds of different types of beers. They have seasonal beers, craft beers, and then all the local brewers who can their stuff and sell them retail sales. You can go and get them there. And so this is called Classic Lager. It's a 5.0% alcohol by volume, and because it's a lager, the bitters are going to be really low on this. And you can see it.
Look at that
There's
thin-
nothing.
thin
There's
blue line on there.
yeah. It is. They honor American heroes.
I like that. Really like that.
The Line of Sight has a scope reticle on there.
Oh,
It has a
is that
cross-
right?
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
and it's really, really great.
That's
beer.
a neat looking can, actually.
Yeah, And you can feel the can. It's just a regular can, and then you can see where the label kind of ends on it.
Right.
Like they don't wrap it around. It's not a traditionally painted can or.
Give you some grip.
Yeah, a stippled grip.
In case you had a couple too many, you got to hang on to it.
Yeah.
Don't wanna-
It's got a crystal. It's got a nice, light clear. What kind of smell do we have? Any? No, nothing. Nothing over the top.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's very light, isn't it? That's very
That
light.
disintegrates really fast.
Right.
That goes away.
Yeah, it
Wow.
does. It's like
but it's less than a light beer.
Yeah, that is-
What's a Bud Light?
It's like cotton
It's at
candy.
5.
Bud Light is 5.
Yeah,
Is it?
that's what you ABU. Yeah.
But that's really
ABV,
light, isn't
yeah.
it?
Really light.
Super light.
I like it though.
This
Yeah,
is
I
one of
could
those
actually
beers.
drink a couple of those.
Yeah, you could
then
probably
if,
because
like,
they're so light. You could probably.
yeah.
Lager.
That is light for lager. When you think
Right,
of
that-
Yingling's lager,
You think of
is a little
thick,
darker, a
kinda
little darker,
like-
more of a full.
when I think of
aroma,
lager,
maybe.
I think of like kind of thick. Like I
All
don't
right.
know.
Yeah,
But
or
it-
more of a full body
Right.
taste to it. Yeah, yeah.
Thinking like
And that-
Yingling.
Yeah, Yingling
type
lager.
of- okay.
right.
Or what I have this one here, Yingling's Premium, that I've been drinking during the show. Yingling Premium is the oldest beer in America. It's made in 1829, and this is one of my favorite beers. It's called Yingling Premium, Yingling Lager,
I know why you like that. It looks like an old Milwaukee can.
and it does taste that though. It's a really good beer.
We drank enough of those, didn't we?
We used to call that mother's milk.
All right. What's the last one that we got here then?
That's not bad. Yeah, it's good.
Wayne Distributors, Waynesboro, Pennsylvania.
Is that right?
Yeah, I went down to Rutter's and I got 6 packs of pounders of these things.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Pounders?
I'm serious. Every time I come to Waynesboro, I'm freaking.
We would steal your dad's old Milwaukee pounders out of the
No,
refrigerator.
You remember? This is an old story, CJ.
Oh,
One
here
time, one time.
You talking
All right,
about Jimmy?
First, no. So let me set the stage. So John and I go so far back that what I think, and this is going to come out of left field. I'm thinking 7th grade English class with Mr. Tracy and John sitting there in his seat sideways with his feet on top of a stack of books on the ground. And Mr. Tracy coming over there and hitting his legs, telling him, "What does that look like? A welcome mat?" And John jumps out of his seat like he's crazy, and I'm sitting behind him going, "What's this kid doing?" And John's like, "What do you mean?" And back then you covered your books, you had book covers, and we used paper bags to cover our books. The next time we come into class, John has "welcome" written on top of his books, and he's got his feet propped up on top of his books because it was a
It's a
fucking
welcome
welcome
mat.
mat.
Yeah, it's a
So
fucking
Mr.
welcome mat.
Tracy wouldn't freaking hit him again.
He said, "What did I tell you? Does that look like a welcome mat to you?" And I was like, "There you go."
Yes, it does. He held the book up, and I'm like, "Who is this fucking lunatic?" And I don't know. We were about 13 years old,
Probably.
and we've been friends for the last 40 years. It started with that shit, and I don't know. It's just yeah. Hey, I need a hey.
Great
Patrick,
storyteller.
Patrick, sorry, I just had to tell you that one of the best stories. I need the can opener or bottle opener. One of the best stories is John getting up in the middle of a assignment and walking to the window and looking outside the window, wondering what the weather's like, and Mr. Tracy coming over and beating his ass with a paddle, telling him it's going to get hotter, and he freaking
It's gonna
looked
get
as-
hot.
It's hot and it's going to get hotter, and he beat his ass with a paddle in front of the window. Mr. Tracy was like freaking 6'2". I don't know. He was freaking.
He was a classic teacher. He
Yeah,
always
my
wore a 3-piece suit,
Yeah,
and he
he
had
always-
that aftershave on.
His brown. It was aqua velva.
Yeah, aqua velva, yep.
Aqua velva, and he had look at.
Do you know what that is?
Yes, I know
Okay.
what
You
it
see-
is.
Just
see
making
John's-
sure.
You see
I'm
John's.
95. I'm
you-
not
it
that
sees
old.
John's
I'm not that
glasses.
young.
But it was in this style of glass, the way the things are, but they were all black, like very similar to the classic black glasses that people wear. And he wore them all the time. And he had snow white gray hair. And he was probably about, I don't know, 800 years old.
Yeah, he was
He was
an older
fucking,
guy.
he was a living fucking fossil at that time. And he was so, I don't know. He was fatherly, and at the same time, he was a huge disciplinarian.
He had a bad temper.
Oh, he had a terrible temper, and we often wondered if it was because he drank or because he was a smoker too. I think, and I think he wore this brown
Whole
suit.
9 yards.
He had the brown suit that he wore all the time.
It was it was one of those classic 3-piece suits, like
Wow.
with the vest.
Like
high school?
Yeah.
No, it's middle school.
For middle school? That
Yeah,
makes it worse. What?
Well, the thing about it is, CJ, when they consolidated the Waynesboro School District, he was an administrator and they put him in a teacher's position. So I think that when they consolidated, it chapped his ass and he was angry a little bit about it.
And it just kind of steamrolled, and he took that anger and placed it on the kids. Because when you were in his class, it was freaking silence all the time. You didn't speak unless he did. And he had freaking amazing handwriting, and he was an English teacher, and he was this classic hardline guy. And you're talking about the late 1970s, early 1980s. And he just had this hard line about him.
I hear so many damn stories about your teachers. When I had a teacher who used to write out words, and if he didn't remember how to write out the rest of the word, he would just scribble it out. That's the type of teachers that I had. Or like the teacher where you would have like a pop
Was
quiz.
it Jack? Jack Tracy? I think it was Jack, wasn't it? Tom Tracy?
I think it was Jim.
Jim Tracy.
I think.
Wasn't Dick.
Got me. That's good.
All right.
Dick Tracy. Right?
Gotcha.
All right,
Was it Mr. Politero? He beat my ass too.
I know.
If you don't remember correctly, in fact, he punched me right in the middle of the chest. Are you tired there, Schindeldecker?
John was leaning on. I was sitting next to him, and I burped out loud. He was gonna paddle my ass in the hallway.
Will you let John pour his damn
I'm sorry.
beer right
I didn't
now?
even tell you what it was. I didn't even tell you.
We're reminiscing. You got
I know.
to expect it, CJ. I can't help it.
Shut your ass, boy. All right, so our final beer is one of our all-time favorite companies.
Oh, is it Port
It is,
City?
yeah, it's a Port City beer, and this is a dry hop pale ale. So it's a slightly different. It's not an IPA, but it is a dry hopped ale. So it's not really high with its bitters. It has a 30, and some beers that are 25 are great. This one has a slight tinge to it. It's not bad. It's not over the top spectacular like some of their other ones. And it's not exactly clear. You can go ahead and pour your own there. It's not clear through, but it's a dry hop pale. And it's not bad. It's got a crisp taste. The aftertaste
Oh, I love that.
is almost
love that.
nil. And it's not over the top. It's 5.2% alcohol by
What do
volume.
you think, CJ?
You're not a hoppy guy,
No, that hits you.
Yeah, it does. I love that.
but it's crisp. This is another one where I think if you had an orange slice or a lime slice in it, like you would drink a Corona.
almost smells orangey. It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Patrick, did you want to? Patrick's not down here.
Oh man, I really like that. Port City.
Yeah, Port City and Alexandria, Virginia. We actually went down to the brewery and taste tested just about every one they had. This is one I did not see. It's called Rivershed Ale. But that's not bad right there.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
right.
did you want to try any, Tiff? No?
She's not a beer drinker.
No, neither's Kathy. She'll sip them, but she doesn't do anything over the top. But if we had to rank them, where are we putting these?
Well, the Honor Brewing, I think, is first to me.
Very light, very crisp. I could see that beer on ice in an iced mug. Dude, I'm freaking hammering. I'm
I'll have
hammering
to
a bunch of
agree.
them.
I would say that would be number one.
The hop, like this is my personal opinion. The hoppy one is last to me because I'm just not a hoppy guy. I'm not hoppy.
Yeah, but this is a dry hop beer, and so it's going to have higher IBUs, which gives it that little bitterness that you taste. But it's not over the top. It's almost refreshing how that is.
I like it.
Yeah. So where are we putting Hefeweizen?
I have it second. I would put
Second?
That's just
Okay.
me, though. That's just me.
All right, so you're gonna get a picture and we're gonna post that up here. We're gonna put Put the Honor Brewing right in the middle. CJ's going to get a picture of that, and we're going to get. Is that centered?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we got to get our. Let's put a little bit of.
Want me to take another one?
Yeah, I want you to get another one with a little bit of beer in it. Are the labels all good?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want it to be just right.
Stop yelling at me.
Shut your ass, boy. All right, so that's how we do it. We rank the beers as we drink them. We don't always agree on 2 and 3 or 3, 4, 5, and 6, but we usually settle on a top one. And I like this classic lager. It might be a little too light. You think? You think it might be a little too
That's my number one.
Yeah,
yeah.
The Honor Brewing.
Right.
I'll tell you what, line of sight. You would absolutely love that, but it's hard to get. It's hard to find. It's just one of those things. Because I think it might be more of a seasonal. Yeah. But this is the perfect time in my mind that line of sight would come out in the summer. But it would be a great summer beer because it's ice cold. It's phenomenal beer. And I've had a pile of them every time I go down
really?
there. I go down there. I buy every one they have because they'll only have and you only get them in 4-packs.
I couldn't imagine you drinking a lot of beer.
No, they only get them in 4-packs though.
Okay.
You can only get them in 4-packs, and they might have 2. So you're only buying 8 beers.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
let's wrap up with Hops of the Week then.
Oh, yeah. So Hops of the Week. You know what Hops of the Week is?
Yes.
You listen to the show.
Any random topic that has happened in the news in the past week or so, you can go ahead and talk about it on the show. However ridiculous it be. I talked about the Zone of Death one time, and he lost his mind. The Zone of Death out in Yellowstone Park.
I'm good.
All right.
Or a crocodile eating a homeless man. Yeah.
Or that woman like 2 weeks ago where the woman was stealing her grandmother's freaking Social Security check because her grandmother died and she stuffed her in a fucking freezer for the last 10 years and been collecting her check. Yeah. That woman went to freaking prison.
That's happened several times.
Yeah, it's crazy shit, but that's one of the things.
So how many
you got? I got one. I got 1.5. One is a follow-up on one we've talked about before because I completely finished the podcast. And then I got a new podcast that I'm starting right now. So do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll do it.
How many you got?
2.
All right. You have one, John?
I have one.
Okay, good.
Disney World is opening. Fucking Disney World. Of all the things to open up right now, I know the bubble is opening for the NBA, but
I think I read that also.
Yeah, Disney World is opening up now. Yikes.
How long before, and we talked about this once before, how long before they start shutting this shit down? Like, especially the NBA getting started. They're playing in the bubble. How long before enough tests say this guy's positive for COVID, you know? And then you get a place like freaking Orlando going wide open.
It's because they're testing more. The tests have gotten out there, so of course numbers are going to go up. And there's no.
I know, but of all the places, especially in the highest
density, the population.
It's like from morning to it closes your shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. CJ, that's crazy.
Goofy's either going to pass out or someone's going to get corona.
Or Goofy's going to have a big fucking mask on his face.
Inside of a costume. He's going to need protection from the protection.
So, I mean, how long before they shut that shit down? And Florida's not one of those places where
it's a hot spot now, right? It's just started ramping back up.
Right. But it's like you said, it's because of all the testing that they're finding. But there are a lot of asymptomatic things that are going on, but blah 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 blah.
Okay, that was one. Go ahead.
But I'm amazed that even is even on the docket. All right, second thing is, or my first one is something we talked about on a few weeks ago when we talked on the show. We talked about Motive for Murder was a podcast. Well, I finally finished the entire podcast, and what a great little series they did. The people, what was his name? Josh Mankiewicz. John Mankiewicz. It was 2020 though. Josh Mankiewicz. It was from 2020 though.
No, it was 2014 was when the murder.
No,
happened.
I know when that happened, but the series was on TV.
Yeah, it just started a couple months ago, back in like April.
All right, so they this thing was Motive for Murder, and I'll tell you what, for a podcast that you can sink your teeth into because the episodes are only 45 minutes long or so, like
Max.
that, and it's like it's really good without having to watch TV. You know, a lot of people will sit through these long versions of How to Catch a Killer, what makes a killer, this and that and the other. This was a podcast called Motive for Murder, and it was about this young Iranian girl who was killed in her car and how it spiraled into the death of another person. These two brothers, they were twin brothers, and one was married to one of these girls, and her father ended up being the killer, and he ended up on freaking death row. And
they interviewed him and everything, and it was dark.
Oh my God, that guy is a fucking lunatic. And I couldn't get enough of it. And it just kept going on and on. And you're listening to this thing and you're like, he's fucking guilty. He's fucking guilty. Why don't you just say it? He's fucking guilty. He's guilty. And then you wonder what's going to happen to him. And then all of a sudden, you know, it took them 30 minutes. It took the jury like 35 minutes. It took them longer to assemble back in court than to go back and deliberate and go, yeah, he's fucking guilty. And then 2 weeks later, they waited 2 weeks. And then when they came to sentencing phase, death. They gave him fucking death.
Wow.
Because he planned all of this shit. And there was a third murder that they had just briefly mentioned in the podcast. And it turns out he's probably responsible for that fucking death too. And all of the frauding of
he
the
tried to cheat the system.
Yeah,
the government.
he tried to defraud the American government. And when they started to examine all this shit, they got all this information on him. And then they interviewed him in prison, and he freaking denied everything.
And this is a series?
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
Motive for Murder. It's a great podcast. It's really good, and that's how
It's
I
only
got
like
my
5 episodes too. So
and they're only like 45 minutes long and stuff. So and they got advertising, stupid.
Did you
shit
hear
like
that, Tiffany?
Yeah, it's called Motive for
It's a murder mystery.
Motive for Murder.
She's into it.
Yeah,
That's her
like
thing.
it almost makes you mad when you listen to it.
Is it on Netflix?
No, it was on where did we get?
Spotify.
Yeah, Spotify. All you have to do is hit Motive for Murder, and then it'll kick out the episodes. Yeah, really good. My second one, or do you want to do one?
No, go ahead.
My second
I
one
got one.
came off of that Motive for Murder, because Spotify created this other. They had advertisements for another one, and I'm listening to one right now, and I think it's 6 episodes. The first one's really, really short. Just gives you a bunch of background. It's called Guru, and it's about this guy named James Arthur Ray, who was this self-help advocate, and he was Oprah approved. He'd been on Oprah's show many times. He'd been on all these
Oprah
things.
Approved. Wow.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah,
He's got to be legit.
yeah, because on
It's like Ted
as-
Bundy. You can't be him.
yeah, exactly.
but anyway, this guy's this self-help guru, and he goes to these extreme lengths, and he has these people coming to these, for lack of a better word, coming to these camps or these lectures, and they turn into something more. And he did this. He tried to make it like this overwhelming. You can't have direction in life unless you experience what death is about. And he takes these people out into the fucking desert and does all this shit with them and deprives them of water and food. And then one of the last things he does is this freaking sweat box kind of thing, like the Native Americans who did their sweat teepees and stuff, where they would sit there. Well,
They're on their vision quest.
right, and that's part of what this was. It was part of that, and 3 people fucking died. And this guy, James Arthur Ray, after fucking people started to drop like flies and the freaking police were called, he fucking left. And when it all comes down to it, is this guy only ends up, he's charged with negligent homicide. negligent homicide.
Wow.
And it was his actions. It was his whole thinking and his whole plot to bring these people here, not to kill them. It was to help them think through. You can't revolutionize your life. You can't re-evolve yourself until you find out what it is that makes you tick and what it is that you want to get better at. And 3 people fucking died. And I don't think he got 2 years in prison.
Jeez.
And now he's out and he's still doing these self-help books and all this shit. And he's
Making money.
He's reestablished his life and everything else. And I'm in the middle of that podcast. I've just finished the episode where the people have just died. And then the survivors are like explaining what's going on. And I'm thinking to myself, are you fucking kidding me? Who would fucking do that? Who would be pushed that far? Like, you couldn't self-help yourself. You couldn't read a book. You couldn't do something else to reinvent yourself. You had to let this guy take you to the brink of death. And then he fucking skips town. He leaves. He said he was scared. He didn't want to have to deal with that. And it's called Guru, and it's on the same, it follows Motive for Murder, and it's one of the other advertised podcasts. It's called The Dark Side of Enlightenment, and that's what and he thought he was this self-help guru that caused all this. 3 people fucking died, and he spent like 1.5 years in jail, and that's all the shit. That's all the more he ended up with. But
I love it.
You like that?
I love it.
So John's sampling freaking 2 Silos cream ale, and I've been raving about that for months now, and I had a couple cans left, so definitely a good beer. All right, so those are my 2 freaking.
While I remember, before my attention deficit kicks in, Vision Quest, you guys did not have that anywhere on your top sports.
I just watched it.
And it pissed me off when I was listening to the podcast
because it's all about wrestling.
Do you know what it is?
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
That's child neglect. That is child neglect. I mean, it's not very realistic, but it's not. But it's very entertaining.
Yeah,
and it. I mean, it's something that Carl watches before, or my son, who's a wrestler, watches before his big matches to get himself psyched up. But
you're gonna wrestle shoot.
you never. You got to watch the CJ.
Matthew Modine.
It's about wrestling. You're right.
Matthew Modine.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. Yes,
I just watched it. You saw me watching it.
I watched it at least twice.
It's not. I don't. What I watch it on Netflix or Amazon Prime.
I bought it so I can just watch it and watch it and watch it. So.
Yeah, I think I did. I was like $2.99. I could watch it for 2 days.
Right. It was actually on sale when I bought it. It was $1.99 forever. So I can.
Okay, so what's your hops
then? Okay, mine's not nearly as exciting as John's, but and I know you guys, you don't get political here, and I'm not going to, but with the tearing down of all of the statues and the monuments, they've been finding hidden time capsules underneath them. Like there's been at least 4 found, and
what's in them?
The last one they
don't
found
have any Port City beer. They don't have any Honor Brewing beers in there. No?
I don't think you would want to taste that.
Actually, I think they had a bottle of whiskey in one of them, John. I think I don't know who was the Confederate General Lee, right? Was it General Lee? Yeah. I think that's the last one that they pulled down, and they had some articles of clothing. They had some kind of bourbon, and they had a lock of his horse's hair in there.
A Traveler was his
right.
name.
Traveler, exactly. That's who it was. Yeah, and I just think it's very interesting,
dude.
To find they've
time capsules are amazing.
Right.
Our school just opened it. They did one 25 years ago. They put a bunch of shit in there, and then they did this special evening unveiling where they dug up the time capsule 25 years later, and there was music and stuff like that, and pictures and tapes that they made, and they were all sealed, and they listened to them and had a good time with it. So
but I can't remember exactly what the rest of them were. This last one, like I said, it had a traveler's hair, it had some article clothing and buttons, because that's how they figured it out from the buttons somehow. Some kind of Kentucky bourbon or something like that, and I just thought it was very interesting.
Yeah, it's a shame that they're tearing shit down, but it's also at the same time, when you find hidden treasures like that, that's always kind of cool.
Right.
That's kind of in line with the Goonies.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for the fucking tools that are pulling down the statues. Those fucking tool bags.
Yeah. All right, enough.
I'm not getting political, but
I don't care.
Who looks at a statue and says, I want to tear that down because I feel bad?
Mine actually has to deal with construction. My last hops.
Oh, yeah?
Get out of here. What's the animal that like makes you scared the most? Like any type of animal.
Animal scares me. Oh, if I had to come across it, I mean, like I had to wander across this thing, and I was like, oh shit, it would absolutely be a freaking grizzly bear.
For me, it's snakes.
Me too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Did you?
And this is
Exactly.
it right
Is this
here.
the one we saw? No, it was Patrick.
Apparently, a woman had construction done in her apartment, and apparently there was a hole in the wall.
Snakes on a plane.
25
You
plus
motherfucker!
When,
snakes.
when he said a hole in the wall, I was thinking of piggies. Remember piggies?
Yeah. Porkies.
Porkies. There you go. Porkies. Piggies. Porkies.
It was Piggy's pen upstairs.
That's right. Porkies. Do you have any idea what we're talking about?
No,
Hell
he
no.
has no idea. It's
You
child
got-
abuse,
You
John.
got to
I
watch
know.
that one too.
Yeah,
Porkies.
It's
The original.
the original Porky's. It's a coming of age movie, and it was made. Yeah, I would say it was '60s era kind of thing.
Right. It was
was
set in the 60s.
It was set in the
But we
late
watched it in
60s.
the 80s.
But
So
we watched it in the '80s. And
But
then,
25 plus snakes were found in this hole in the wall after construction was done.
holy crap.
now, were they
What
put
kind?
there?
They didn't specify on the breeds of the snakes, but there was 20. It said 20 plus, but there was actually 25 plus snakes.
So were they saying that the snakes got into the house and laid
Apparently
their
it was
eggs?
done,
Where?
it
Where was
like
this?
during construction? Apparently.
Oh,
Where was this? Was this India where they got all
No,
those
it was in
cobras all
America.
Oh, yes,
It
that
was
was
in
in
America.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
25
rattlesnake
plus
nest?
snakes, yeah.
what kind of snake did it say? You
It
didn't
did-
say.
I
it
just
didn't-
said it. They didn't
I
specify
thought you
the
said
breeds.
that, and then I
Yeah.
heard somebody say cobra, and I was thinking,
Well, every time you scroll through something on YouTube, you see an Indian fighting a cobra or pulling one out of a log.
You're Rambo being in a fighting ring with snakes. Yeah.
Right.
"Hey, he played Marion Cobretti, Cobra,
There you go.
which was a good movie.
Cobra. He had that car.
That car was badass.
Yeah,
I don't know about
Had a
you, but,
supercharger.
like, you better get rent free for the next 9 months than if you find snakes in your
Yeah,
apartment
oh, no
somehow
shit.
from
Yeah, you ever
Either-
see the bees?
either-
People have the bees nests in their house, and it's like
What? No, because I take care of my shit. I don't let bees nests get in
I would
places.
accidentally spill a gallon of gasoline in the wall and set the motherfucker on fire. I'm sorry, but my apartment burned to the ground.
Yeah, and it was definitely not because of snakes being in the wall. I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking wall, so I'm gonna burn down my apartment.
Samuel L. Jackson, Snakes on a Plane.
Okay, John, thank you for being here
Dude.
on the show, man.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. It was fun.
Hope you enjoyed the beers. Hope you enjoyed the time here on the show. We always have a good time on here.
It's not
very
like it
laid
sounds,
back.
though, is it?
What?
It's
Having a live show, it's not like you're listening.
Right.
Being a part of the show
Right.
is
You can always go back and listen to it, though. It'll be up tomorrow.
yeah, it'll
The
be
live
up
show will
tomorrow.
be
You
up.
can go back and you can hear yourself, which is always weird.
I have
Hear yourself.
one thing I wanted to bring up. I wanted
Uh-oh.
to talk to you guys
Uh-oh.
about. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
We're
don't know.
live, man,
Okay. So
and we're always experts.
so,
Because remember, I told
you guys
Tiffany,
are sports
you got,
guys. Have you seen where they're getting rid of college wrestling programs? They
what?
got rid of Old Dominion money.
What?
That's what they're saying.
Some colleges don't have the money.
They got rid of Old Dominion and they just got rid of Stanford, which I can't believe.
Stanford's
Yeah.
wrestling?
Stanford, and not only this is what really brought it to my attention. I mean, I went back and looked. There's a lot of D2, D3 schools, but Stanford, they're losing. They're cutting 11
yeah,
sports.
yeah.
11. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
there was shit like fencing in there.
Yeah, well, you're laughing about it. Now, I've talked to people about it. I mean,
I'm not saying-
I've had this conversation, and
But how many athletes are in the fencing program?
I don't know, but
And how much money does the fencing program bring in?
you sound exactly
John,
like
I
the people I've been talking to. You got fencing. I think rowing was cut. I think
Well,
Division 1 field hockey was cut.
Yeah,
No,
because
no,
there's
just-
no revenue.
Well, you got to think of. I'm not thinking about the revenue. I'm thinking about the kids. Imagine
I-
what
I
that's doing
understand.
to them.
I know.
I mean, imagine the
horrible.
opportunities they're losing because this sport is being cut
Yeah.
and their
It's-
expectations.
But it's
And
not-
yeah.
how are they going to
And-
transfer from Stanford to some other place for fencing? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
I just think it's sad.
And
I
It
it's
is.
out of
just-
their
It is.
control, too. And it's
It-
out. It's kind of out of the
And-
college's
and-
control because of Corona.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
Yeah.
they're saying. Are they using Corona or are they just?
This is a way
Well,
to
no,
phase it out, kind of thing. We don't
Using-
want to do this because
And they're saying that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, I hope it's not. I mean, I know they're not ever going to cut football because football.
They're not, because that's a giant revenue source, and they're not.
I forget what school it was. They got rid of the wrestling. I can't remember. It was a Boise. I can't remember exactly what school it was, but they wanted to bolster the baseball program, which failed. And the wrestling program was going strong, but they got rid of it so they could bolster the baseball, and the baseball failed. Now they have neither one.
Right.
So what?
So
I mean,
what's the end game?
What's your opinion here? I mean,
what's the end game if you're dropping sports just simply because of a revenue problem versus the fact that you have a kid who is dedicated to the school and wants to perform?
I mean, they got to be devastated. There's kids. I mean,
yeah, I would say so, but at the same time, I would look right at the fucking administration, because they never stop hiring those fucking guys. They never stop hiring high level administrators and paying them.
Can you imagine Stanford wrestling? I mean, that is one of the best programs.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see a reasonable response to that, other than to say it's dollars and cents. And when you talking about administrators keeping their salaries, they'd sooner cut a program. And when you think about it, the salary of a single administrator could fund the program that you're looking for in many ways. Because think about it, how many people are on a fencing?
Right. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I feel, I mean, there's opportunities.
I'm not going to speak out about public education, but you see it all the time. You see programs that are dropped, but they don't fail to not hire another administrator. They don't fail to not hire another high level.
CJ, what do you think as far as do you think they're using the coronavirus as an excuse, or do you think that's because that's what they're citing because of the?
Yeah.
But I truly do think it is because of coronavirus, because a lot of these sporting events that you're talking about, they require a lot of people to go to them. And now if they can't even generate any sort of money because of coronavirus, they cannot keep those sports alive. You think about swimming and diving. What was it? I forget who cut their swimming and diving program. But they're in a pool. You're with a bunch of other people around and things like that. I'm not trying to say that like I agree with it, but at the end of the day, a lot of these sports do not generate any sort of revenue.
And he knows firsthand, because in
that's why I wanted to bring this up.
The Olympic sports program at JMU, and we're not knocking JMU and stuff like that. In order to purchase uniforms and equipment and to provide,
you have to have a budget.
You have, in order to provide anything for any program.
You can't get any sort of money from donations or anything like that.
Yeah, and if
scholarships, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean,
especially for Olympic sports.
And that's the thing. That's the one thing I've never understood is how they can offer X number of scholarships for any sport in which somebody gets a discount on their tuition. But yet they never fail to not hire professors.
So am I missing something here? With Stanford, they have some ungodly $1 billion in endowments.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just like something that could never run out.
It's
basically
not supposed to.
So, I mean, how do you explain that? I mean,
well, another reason is that is Pac-10 or Pac-12 now? I can't remember.
I mean, it was
Pac-12 is cutting all
100 billion or so. I mean, it was just crazy. I would never.
California is not having any sporting events.
Right.
I wanted to say now. Stanford's in California.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you for 11 of those sports who aren't going to get any matches or games or
and
whatever.
Stanford's in Northern California, not too far from
Silicon
D1
Valley. Field hockey. I mean, field hockey is a huge.
But you think about all the tech companies in freaking Northern California who could supplement the budgets for all of those programs if they just freaking donated.
Right.
Alumni's
got to be pissed. I would think. I mean,
absolutely. And Harvard's still charging $50,000 for their online courses now. Too. So, I mean, shit's going wild.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to pick your brains.
Yeah, I just don't want to get too political
I think
on it.
I think it comes down to dollars and cents, and for the vast majority of administrators,
11 sports. That's just that's outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have the stats on the other schools, but I'm sure there's,
everybody's going to be impacted, especially when you take a look at Big Ten sports in the Big Ten, and they're going to stick to conference games only.
But that doesn't hurt them as much, especially in football when
they
Ohio
play
State
like
8 or 10 games of their
I know, but
conference.
when Ohio State is supposed to play Oregon, and both schools are going to benefit tremendously from that in football, that game is canceled. It's a no-go. It's not going to happen. So what do you do? And maybe that's something we need to talk about on the show is what are the canceling of games going to do to schedules?
But once again, it's out of their control.
Yeah, I think
it's completely out of everyone's control.
It's certainly
right now.
out of the athlete's control. That's for damn sure. And all we can do is sit here behind our microphones and bitch and complain and speculate because that's what you do when you're an expert.
That's
like
enough
we are.
getting people down right now.
I'm not down.
Oh, I'm not down at all. I was just,
So we're going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. We hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. This live show, if you did not see it, it will be up tomorrow for you guys to enjoy it and hear John's voice and also Coach and I as well. But
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. But until next time, guys, peace out. Love you guys.
See ya.